Oh my goodness. Is that Frog Man? I think that was a Frog Man. Oh, might as well get down and dirty with it. Doing another dev stream, because the last one went pretty well. Um, Jump back into working on Paper Mario Showtime. Gonna continue to work on Paper Mario Showtime. Let's see. Okay, it is full screen. You'll notice I may have changed the thing a little bit so that it's more cleanly full screen and also orange icons instead of green, which looks nice. I also changed a few of the colors in the text in the word processor, which is interesting. But so last time we did a dev stream, we did the title screen for Paper Mario Showtime here. Since then, I've worked on it on and off, adding things, which I suppose I can start the game, kind of show you what I've done in the meantime, and then describe how I did it, and so on and so forth. So, this time I actually have my controller hooked up so I can use that for all this testing. It's not too loud, is it? If it's too loud, I can turn it down. Hopefully I've got a good balance of it. It might be a little loud. Turn it down a little bit. Turn me up a little bit. See how that... See if that works. Hopefully. But, yeah, so we got this title screen going on. Oh, right. It needs to actually be the active window for the buttons to work. Sorry about that. Anyway, here we go. We actually got a menu screen going on now. Do I need to turn it down even more? Goodness gracious. Well, fortunately, that will be a thing you can actually fix in the game itself, as you shall soon see. We got, boom, 4 different options to choose from. We got the battle stage, we got options, we got extras. All sorts of good stuff going on here. You can actually change the volume of the sound effects. And you can change the volume of the music as well. For some reason, the music just completely cut out, though. I have no idea why that keeps happening. But we have this My Music feature. I'm going to turn the menu music back on. I don't know why. It seems to loop perfectly cleanly when I go through My Music, but not through... I think I might actually know why that is. I think I can fix that. But yeah. You can turn the volume of the music all the way down to 0 if you want. And then these are not active yet, being able to change keyboard or gamepad preferences. I am planning on adding that. That might actually be what we do today. But yeah, in extras, we got My Music. I got My Music up and running. And in fact, the menu music was randomized. See, it brought up the menu theme, but these are other options it can choose from, thinking and options. And you can see, you can actually choose which mode you adjust the frequency of. So hey, maybe I really want this music to play in the menu. I can turn it all the way up to the menu. Or I can turn it all the way back down. Or I want it to play during boss battles. Or I want it to play more often during certain game modes and not others. It's a little over the top, I know. But I figured it'd be a nice feature, so I added it. You can also preview the tracks. Of course, I added Origami King's battle music for the Red Streamer area because it's jazzing as all fuck. Good shit right there it is, yeah, buddy! And, it overrides the menu music. So there you go. And that number there that says 11 available, that is actually properly programmed. There are 11 tracks unlocked. You'll see that they have numbers, though. It goes 1, 2, 3, 6. What? I don't have the Shogun Studios mix in, but I have the Autumn Mountain mix in. Autumn Mountain mix is super good. But yeah, I have 11 tracks total unlocked, and you can jump straight to the top, jump straight to the bottom. I have the thinking theme as a default menu theme, of course, because it's good. It's just that good stuff. It's just that good stuff. And then, yeah, I have a couple boss fight themes. One from Origami King and one from Mario & Luigi Dream Team. You'll notice, so far, all of the tracks that are unlocked are from Mario games, except this one. This music is, as you can see, from Blink's the Time Sweeper. In the first version of this game, Paper Mario, not even Paper Mario, it was just Mario Sticker Stage. Because at the time I was using Mario & Luigi sprites, heavily edited Mario & Luigi sprites. This was the music I used for the menu theme. There wasn't my music for the main menu, and it had like a totally different like art style as well. Super different. But we can go into the battle stage menu. You see here, it looks basically finished. I don't have the badges menu set up yet. It's going to look similar to the My Music menu, though. There are multiple difficulty modes, and I plan on having this extra options space, kind of like you can just customize certain other things. And then, of course, Let's Go is you actually start playing the game. But the different game modes, there's like the standard theater mode, which is the regular game mode, ensemble, and you'll notice the image actually changes based on what game mode you're about to play, which I thought would be a nice detail. Full House, Audition, Crescendo, Final Curtain. But yeah, and then there's different difficulty settings, but what we want to do today is... Oh, yes. And, while it's not really totally a thing yet, these options do actually stay at the level you set them at right now. Right now, I have it so that the game like resets this every time you start it, just for like testing purposes. But I will remove that like bit of code when like I actually launch the game for real, so that it will actually save these settings, so you don't have to reset them every time you boot up the game, because that would be really annoying. But yeah, that's basically everything I did between the last stream and this stream, which was get that shit up and running. Oh, hello, Miles. How you doing? Hopefully you are not at the hospital because you need to be at the hospital because you are in poor health. Hopefully things are going all right. I'd imagine things probably not going super all right since you're at the hospital, but not as not too terribly. Well, hopefully he gets good and better, good and fast. Um. So yeah, that's just some of the things that I've worked on, and here's how I did some of those. Um, as opposed to, you know, programming all of the menu stuff into the actual menu thing, which would have been a metric pain in the ass. Um, I actually just gave them their own scripts. They all just have their own scripts, which made everything so much easier, especially for the transition effect that I use between the main menu and the sub menus. Um, like, oh my god, you have no idea. Oh no, I need to fix my Microsoft account because my password might likely change. Blah 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 blah. Go away. You'll notice that there's like a wipe that just goes zoop, 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 like that. I waved my hand back and forth, like you would actually be able to see me waving my hand back and forth. That's all done with surfaces. You also notice, like, it changes the color of the shadows and whatnot. It's all done with surfaces. It's all very nice, very efficient. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily efficient, but it's very nice. And those drawing scripts that I pointed out made it so much easier on me. You have no idea. Anyway, I gotta fix that thing that I noticed, which was the music not working. Okay. Music playing to that. It is pretty nice. Hmm. No, I used Fmod sound loop there too. Say dang. Hmm. Why it suddenly stops? Oh, am I? Hmm. I might actually be doing something wrong. Oop. Let me try putting this in there. Because it might actually be going horrendously wrong for a reason. It might just be grouped wrong, so it's like being overridden. Yeah, I think that might be it. The way Fmod works is like with instances, you can only play like a certain number at a time. And in a game like this, I want to set that number fairly high, but I guess I didn't group that correctly, so it got overridden when it shouldn't be overridden, so I fixed it, so now it shouldn't be overridden. Anyway, what we want to do is have a look at this very nice code here. This is the My Music menu code. This is all just for drawing the My Music menu. This is all it does. um, I should have commented it a lot more. I didn't, but basically, this just draws the background stuff, like all the boxes. This right here draws the this whole bit right here draws the selection thing for which mode you're changing, and then also the actual meters. And then this draws the meters for like the big side over there where it's actually displaying the music. And then this draws all the music names. It gets the names of the music and then draws them with the number of the music and the actual number that the music is assigned in the track list. So if it's track 7, even though it's popping up after track 3, it'll still say track 7. There's a backup clause. They're not supposed to display if they're still locked, but just in case, there's a thing there that tells you it's locked. Just more drawing, more drawing. The ticker tape at the bottom that shows you what the controls are. As you can see, I kind of have a backup where it draws it 3 times, kind of just in case. And then I get the length of that string in terms of how big it is when drawn with the particular font that's being used, and also the scaling of that font. And then I use that to determine when we need to reset the ticker tape to 0 so that it doesn't like judder in a weird way. And then I also increase the actual timing amount by that specific amount, because otherwise if I increase it by like a whole number, it'll jitter a little bit and look weird. And we don't want that. We don't want things to look weird. Things will look weird anyway, but that's an easy way to make a ticker tape. It's very nice. If I really wanted to make it really nice, I would have put one in front, but I didn't do that, and I'm not going to do that because it works fine the way it is. And then I also pulled the music grid code, and I gave that its own script. It's a lot of music. It is a lot of music. And that's all you need to know about that, quite frankly. I also have some test things. I kind of built like a prototype HUD, and I'm working on getting a actual room for testing Mario in. And it is this. So something I am doing now that I didn't actually do in previous versions of this game, I'm actually making the room a little bigger than the view space so that I can potentially do some zoom ins and zoom outs. Yeah, I went with an 8 snap grid. For reasons, but yeah. Um, so that I can do zooms, dynamic zooms, without it looking too weird. It's still gonna look weird because of the way it's gonna handle, like, interpolating pixels and all that, but this way the camera has a little more room to pan when it zooms, so that things don't feel too terribly crowded, hopefully. This is my idea. It may not play out in practice, but we'll see what happens. Um, Only one way to find out, really. Let's see. I think that's really honestly just about everything that I did. So what are we going to do today? I think what I want to do is get the customizable controls up and running, because I firmly believe accessibility is an important thing for video games. Um, just in general, the more people who can play your game, the better. And if it's can be done in a way that doesn't really get in the way, even betterer. And customizable controls are one of those things that's super easy to do without getting in the way of the way other people enjoy the game. Nintendo finally kind of got on the bandwagon with it. You can customize your controls at a system level on the Switch, which is weird, but it's better than nothing. I kind of wish they would let you adjust the controls within the games themselves. I can think of a couple games that would benefit from this, like Xenoblade Chronicles or Xenoblade Chronicles, but that is neither here nor there. So, how do we want to do this? Well, first of all, we need to create the menu for it. Boop-a-doop-a-doop. So we're going to create a new script, and we're going to call this script controls. But remember, I have two different control options. I have controls for the keyboard and controls for the controller. So we're going to do script key controls. And we're going to have a script pad controls. Oh, hey, Rox. How's it going? Oh, yeah, I should probably also start playing some music just for ambiance. Get some mining melancholy up in here. So, one thing you'll recall is that I have my controls set up in this crazy-ass global setup. As much as I like this setup, I have realized that this is incredibly inefficient for reasons that I'm about to get into. This would be so much easier if these were just a 1D array. But I'm not going to immediately change it to that. I'm going to first make sure I know which ones are which. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't make this an array in the first place, but such is life. Such is my horribly inefficient life. I think part of it was because I wanted them to be named kind of the way they correspond to on a Super Nintendo controller, which is what I'm using to test with, basically. It's an 8-bit DOE SN30 Pro, which is just a Super Nintendo controller with sticks on it. They're very nice. I highly recommend them. They're making a new one that has Xbox buttons, and it looks weird. Something just ain't right about a Super Nintendo controller with the A button on the bottom. It's just... It's cursed, I tell you. It's cursed. Don't ask me why I didn't copy-paste that. Don't ask me why I copy-pasted that there. Yeah, it'd be nice if they had more color schemes to work with. As it is, they're all retro or retro-inspired. They stopped producing, like, the ones that look copyright infringingly like classic Super Nintendo or Super Famicom controllers. They now make ones that are inspired by them, or just pitch black. Which is what the Xbox One is. It's just a pitch black version of the 30 Pro. It even still has the share and home buttons in the same places, so it's really just, it really is like they just reused the shell. Oh, they do have a Game Boy styled one with like a Game Boy styled D-pad and Game Boy colored buttons, which is really cool. You can still find the Super Famicom colored ones, just not through like their official shop so much anymore. You can still find them on Amazon if you look, though, just because some places still have them in stock. So anyway, we're gonna change these all to arrays. Since they're older, though, they won't have... no, they all use the same firmware, so I don't know what I'm talking about. The new Xbox One, though, is actually supposed to be compatible with their Ultimate software, which is just a button customizable thing where you can also pre-program macros. The old SN30 Pros are not compatible. The SN30 Pro Pluses are, however. Oh my goodness. I have a package coming. Gosh golly, gee whiz. I wonder what that could be. That reminds me, I gotta get to work on the artwork. Because I definitely want the artwork that I make to be the best artwork that I've ever made. But I'm also kind of torn on, like, how do I want to do it, though? You know what I mean? Because I like my sketchy art style, but I don't want it to just be my sketchy art style. You know what I mean? I've actually been kind of toying around with, you know, kind of going for a new way of doing, like, my sketchy art style, where I, like, do the outline, and then underneath it, I do the whole thing in black, and then I color on top of it, on top of the black. I did that once for a piece of art. It didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it to. I think I need to, like, kind of have... I think I need to practice with that more, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. So I've changed this to... Oh my god. Oh. My curiosity is piqued. Okay. This here is all well and good, but now I need to retrofit this to work with this. Fortunately, this shouldn't be too bad. This is the fun part of programming. Trust me when I say this would be a lot more difficult if I didn't do this with having customizable controls in mind in the first place. Oh. Got some Karba music. Oh man, I'm trying to remember what that drawing was. That was... that was a long time ago. That was at the, pool hall place, wasn't it? I thought it was named Jillian's. Oh, yeah. I better pop into here and rejigger all of this as well. Now, you might be wondering why I have these all set up super early, even though, like, I haven't actually done anything with this particular object yet. That's because this is the, you'll notice the name of it is the director. This is the actual object that I'm using to track, basically, actual gameplay. This is handling so many things, so that's why it's got all of the button mappings, because it's probably going to need to use all of the button mappings at any given point in time. So I just have these set up in advance because I am 99% sure I'm going to need them. Now, as for why I have the battle menu stuff similar, button bind numbers. You can make an enum using the button names and just use those instead of numbers. Uh-huh. I didn't really think of that. I probably should have done that. But at this point, I think I'm in too deep. I think it also helps that... I don't know. These are all labeled with whatever button they are to begin with. So I just need to... All I really need to do is just open this up every once in a while if I really need to know what button is which. I could have saved myself a lot of time, I'm sure. I didn't. But I will keep that in mind for the future, for sure, though. Golly! I am smart. Oh no, Jillian's Billiards is permanently closed. That sucks. I mean, I've only been there once in my entire life, but still. Okay. That's the director object fix. There's a Mario object here too. I'll fix this right now. Mario object doesn't use a whole lot of buttons. Oh yeah, the triple slash label thing, so nice. Can't go back to using Game Maker 8 anymore. Oh man, it is so utterly convenient. I used to use these freaking things between blocks of code. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, this is right below the thing, so that's what this block of code is for. And it's the worst, and I hated it, but it's the only thing. But it was the only way to make the code easier to read. I hated it, but ah man, the triple slash label thing, so nice, especially with script, so nice. Oh, I mean, yeah. So, all these controls are initialized at the beginning of the game. So, this sets all the controls. You can see that the default controls for the keyboard are ZX, AS, QW, Shift, Enter, up, down, left, and right of the arrows. And then for the gamepad, I'm using GameMaker's built-in gamepad controls, which are so much better than they used to be. Trust me when I say they used to be awful. GameMaker's keyboard gamepad controls are now actually use X input. They used to not. And it was a pain in the patoot. But they're all basically now permanently set to like an Xbox controller. So here you can see what everything is set to. This is GP face 1, 2, 3, 4. And it even gives you this maps to the A on an Xbox 360 controller and the cross on a PS controller. So A, B, X, and Y are actually set to A, B, X, and Y, or cross, circle, square, and triangle. The shoulder buttons are set to the actual shoulder bumpers, not the triggers. The triggers... I don't know why GameMaker did this, but for some reason the triggers are shoulder B even though typically they're called the triggers, and the shoulder buttons are called the bumpers. That starts with a B. At least that's the way it was on the Xbox 360 controller. So I find that really weird. I would have figured it would be shoulder T, but instead it's shoulder B, which makes some amount of sense. You got shoulder button A and you got shoulder button B, but I think they probably could have done a little bit better naming those. And then I use the actual pads and start and select. What's interesting is that Game Maker Studio can recognize a PS4 controller. Select is a touchpad press on a PS4 controller, and start is an options button on a PS4 controller. So, yeah, you know, that's interesting. I want to know, I believe, since Game Maker Studio actually has, like, a PlayStation export module, I think, you can export, you can actually use, a PlayStation 4, a PlayStation 3, maybe a PlayStation 4 controller, natively. I'm 99% sure if you run a Game Maker game through Steam, you would definitely be able to do that with, like, Steam's built-in gamepad thing, because Steam can do that. But what's interesting to note is that Nintendo's button layout is not the same as what I have set up here. Nintendo button layout, A is actually where GP Face 2 is, and B is where GP Face 1 is, and X and Y are similarly swapped. So, I have this set up here. Yep, dang it, Nintendo. Putting A before B and... or B before A, rather. I swear I know what I'm doing. If we go back into ye old video game and have a look. Oops. Ah, I forgot. I have these down here. Nah. My bad. These are for the My Music menu. Whoopsies! There, see? It started with different music than it did last time. My Music menu works. I have proven it. That's definitely why I was doing this. I want to be able to have the player be able to pick from some presets. So, if they have, say, an 8-bit do controller hooked up to their computer like what I've got, they'll be able to set the controls to Nintendo mode. And then the A button will actually be the A button. What's interesting about the 8-bit do controller is that right now, when I'm hitting the B button, it is actually acting as the A button. They are actually mapped as they are supposed to be on an Xbox 360 controller. So the bottom button is A. This will let you change that, just if you prefer that Nintendo muscle memory over the Xbox muscle memory. I know, it's interesting. But I also want to have, say, the gamepad option also change your heads-up display, so that button prompts would actually match what controller you have. So if you set it to Xbox, they look like Xbox controllers. If you set it to Nintendo, they look like Nintendo controllers. And if you set it to... I mean, yeah, because sometimes I just want to jump in and get right to the game. I actually thought of including a quick play option where you can just hit a button on the title screen and just immediately jump into a game. But I feel like you can probably just get to a game fast enough as it is. Just because, like, that quick play option would always be, like, one set thing. You wouldn't be able to, like, change badges or anything like that. So, I'm probably not going to include the quick play option. But, it's just an idea I had. But yeah, I want to be able to have the HUD actually change based on, you know, what gamepad you're using. And then keyboard controls, I want to have a number of presets. In Mario Sticker Stage, before I changed it to the Paper Mario style in Showtime, I had a lot of keyboard presets. Because there's a lot of different keyboards out there. Don't know if you know. I obviously had ones for QWERTY and AZERTY. I think I also had one for QWERTZ, because Z is in a different place on QWERTZ, obviously. But I also had Colomac and Dvorak. And then I believe I had reverse for each of them, where movement was on the left hand and the action buttons were on the right hand. So you would use WASD to move and then other buttons to do actions. And I had a reverse for each different one. I can probably actually bring that up. I know, right? It's so actually frustrating. We're gonna have a look at the original Mario Sticker Stage, guys. It's kind of slightly mutilated, but we're gonna have a look at it. It took a while, but we got there. Now this is how you leak a beta! This should run. I tested it earlier and it ran perfectly fine. Nintendo ain't got nothing on me. They leak their betas on accident. I leak my betas on purpose. Way more interesting. Good lord, that took a while. Yep, as you can tell, this was originally formatted for a slightly smaller window. Don't know how obvious it was. This is what the menu used to look like. I was actually pretty happy with how this looked. I still think it looks pretty good. Especially the rainbow effect on the text at the header. But yeah. Controls! Look at this. Super ridiculously customizable. Oh, no, okay. I had QWERTY QWERTZ, AZERTY, Dvorak, Colomac, and then reverses for each of them. And then you can actually change the controller, and oh my goodness! It changes all the icons. Isn't that amazing? This was a pain in the ass to make, though. This was paint. This was not the one with the rainbow spin ball. No, that was a very different game. You could also change the screen size. Blah. Oh my goodness, it's tiny. And, you know, change the volume of the music and all that. Oh my goodness, my music. Look at that. Isn't that super impressive? That's all the Wario you get for now. But yeah, so I had custom controls for all of those different control schemes. I have to make up one for QWERTZ now because of the way I have the default QWERTY control scheme set up. So I'm going to be pulling this into another screen so that I can look at it at my leisure. Gonna pull up the main menu. And then... oh my god. I totally forgot how freaking complex this... Do you want to see what my old customizable controls code looked like? Looked like this. So what this is doing, this is you're changing a control that you want to change. It's checking to make sure it is not within a certain range of values, because those are keys I absolutely do not want the player to be able to use. Then it checks to see if the button you're pressing is not already in use. And then it lets it actually, change the thing. Fortunately, it is a lot easier for the gamepad. But the reason I did those ranges, it's really weird. The way GameMaker reads keyboard buttons makes not a whole lot of sense. I don't understand why it does this, but it does. This is an example of what I... Yes, you do not want to do that. Here is what I did. Because I wanted to be able to properly display backspace, tab, enter, shift when you actually made those the buttons that you use. Oh, it was so annoying because they don't actually line up properly. Backspace is 8. Why? Why did they do it that way? Why would they do it that way? I don't understand why they would do it that way. It was super annoying, super frustrating. So I created this array. And oh yeah, here we go. These are unused. Don't use them. If you use them, I'll fucking murder you. These are the values that I did not want people to be able to use. You know, caps lock, nums lock, scroll locks. Um, just all of those. I didn't want people to use any of those. And all of the function keys, I don't want the player to be able to use the function keys either, because I like to use the function keys for debugging or you know, just to like put like, oh hey, I want to see what happens if Mario's health goes down, but I don't want to wait for the enemy to hit him 5 times. I'm just gonna hit this F11 key and drop his health all the way down to 0 really fast. I'm not going to make Binding Scroll Lock Chivo. Get out. Get out. But yeah, this is the end result of a lot of trial and error. It was really dumb. It was really upsetting. I don't know why I put so much effort into it. Oh yeah, that's right. So that the customizable control thing would look super nice and good. But yeah, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work. So yeah. I'm just going to copy and paste that code into my newer main menu. Because I don't want to make it again. Boop! And I don't know why GameMaker does that. I don't know why GameMaker has so many different like weird things for actually for like what the keys are. Because the keys on a keyboard actually have like hardware numbers that you can use to access them. It's just GameMaker doesn't actually use those numbers. It uses its own numbers, and that's weird and dumb, and I don't understand why. It shouldn't do that. It just shouldn't do that. But we already did it, so we don't need to do it again. I have that code forever. Any future games I make in GameMaker, I have that code, so I can just come back to this, just copy paste it, you use it forever and ever. In fact, I might even just put it in a script and export it so that it's super easy to import. You know, it's just, it's nice. So, default control schemes for video game. Oop. I'm just gonna build all of this right now in a piece of comment code. And show off my sweet ASCII art skills. Though admittedly, doing ASCII art like this actually can make it easier to read your code, just because you're creating, like, blocks that help break up just walls and walls and walls and walls of text. I actually really recommend doing stuff like this. It may seem really silly, but trust me, it can save you some headaches later on down the line. But anyway, so we want to come up with some default control schemes for a video game. Well, I already have one that I came up with, the QWERTY. So, you know, the quote-unquote A button is Z. The B button is X. The Y button is A. Roll with it. The X button is S. Again, roll with it. The L button is Q. The R button is W. And then select, I believe, was shift. And start, I believe, is enter. I actually can't remember what I did. Okay, that is what I did. Cool. What's nice is that GameMaker actually does have defaults for, like, up on the arrow keys and whatnot. It's just, when I need to call the actual numbers, you know. D-pad up is up. D-pad left is left. D-pad right is right. D-pad down is down. So that's the QWERTY control scheme that we have come up with, and we actually technically already have programmed in the game. That's what the game defaults to, because most people use QWERTY, or at least Americans use QWERTY, and I'm American, so I use QWERTY, so that's what I'm putting in as the default, and you're just gonna have to fucking deal with it. I'm joking. I'm joking. Azerty. Here's the part where I actually open up Google and start looking up Berter. Keyboard layouts. What does Azerty look like, you may wonder? Well, Azerty kind of looks like this. As you can see, anybody who gets used to typing on a QWERTY keyboard would have quite a difficult time with Azerty, unless they only needed to use the letters ERTYGHJKL, UIOP, C, V, B, N, D, and F. As long as those are the only letters you need, you can go from QWERTY to Azerty perfectly fine. But these are the keys that I'm using for A, B, X, Y, L, and R. So, fortunately, that seems like a pretty easy fix. I just need to change these key bindings. X can stay the same. That's good news. That needs to change. S can stay the same. That's good news. But, whoop. That needs to be... Nope. I'm actually hitting those buttons. Why? I'm actually hitting the Q button as if it were the A button. Oh my god. I can't believe I was doing that. I know what I'm doing. There we go, Azerty. Now, I mentioned QWERTs earlier. Oh goodness. Earlier, I didn't need to come up with one for QWERTs because I used different keys, but now I need to come up with one for QWERTs. It's not going to be too terribly different because QWERTs is not too terribly different. This is what QWERTs looks like. Similar layout, it's really just Y and Z that have switched places. I don't know why this is. I believe this is a German layout. So this is probably, or no, this is Polish. German or Polish. Either way, probably just built for typing, you know, in those languages. Because the reason keyboards have the layout they do right now is because typewriters were built with these layouts so that they wouldn't jam as often when you're typing. That's really the only reason we still use QWERTY today, even though it is actually a very inefficient typing standard, which is why Kolomak and Dvorak exist. And I used to have a friend who swore by Dvorak pretty heavily, but fortunately, with this, all we have to do is change that to Y. And that's it. Now, we're going to start getting into the ones that look a little weird. Kolomak. Kolomak is specifically built for ergonomic purposes. This is what Kolomak looks like. So, you'll notice that the bottom row is mostly the same. K has replaced N on the bottom row, but otherwise that's mostly the same. The middle row has seen some significant changes, as has the top row. So, again, while some things don't change, Z and X can stay the same, as can A. We need to change this to R. Well, Q and W stay the same, so, I mean, I guess mostly everything stays the same. It's really only changing a few buttons, but this is just making it easier for people. I think Dvorak is where it gets really weird, though. Oh yeah! Dvorak is where it gets very weird. Do you want to see what Dvorak looks like? It looks like this. You'll notice that the home row has all 5 vowels, and they're all on those first 5 keys. Your left hand is basically the vowel hand with Dvorak. So, if you've ever seen a picture of like wear and tear on keyboards, the Dvorak keyboard has very high wear on those 5 keys on the home row right there, just because, you know, that's where all the vowels are. So, yeah, Dvorak's weird. Finally gonna have to start making some significant changes here. This is now the semicolon. This is Q. A stays the same, but this is O. This becomes apostrophe. And this becomes comma. So yeah. And, you know, even with all these nice presets, I'm going to include the option to set them to whatever keys you want to use. If you have a Dvorak keyboard and you want to have, you know, this be the A button, this be the B button, this be the X button, this be the Y button, you can do whatever the hell you want. But that's your business, not mine. I do not know of any other keyboard layouts off the top of my head that are particularly common. Just gonna try looking at keyboard layouts. So QWERTY, AZERTY, Quartz, I believe Dvorak and Kolomak are the most common. Take Easy Frog. But there's loads of other keyboard layouts. Now that I'm looking on Wikipedia, there's Dvorak, which is apparently a subset of Dvorak. Sky, Beppo, Neo, and of course there's, you know, Chinese and Japanese keyboards, Arabic script keyboards, Hebrew keyboards, Cyrillic keyboards. Those use entirely different alphabets. I think it's fair to say we can stick with what we got right now, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. I'm not going to include the reverse options this time, just because I'm willing to admit that was slight overkill, and if anybody really desperately wants to have a WASD control scheme, they're probably already computer savvy enough to create it themselves. Just throwing that out there. Now, as far as gamepad controls, well, that's easy, and there are only so many buttons. I mean, gamepad only has so many buttons. You know what I mean? Like, let me show you the gamepad I'm using right now. Not really that complicated. And GameMaker already has built-in variables for all of those buttons. The only thing it doesn't have built-in variables for are motion controls. Why? And I guess the screenshot button. Which, I can't imagine anybody would need to use. But that's just me. But yeah, that's the gamepad I'm using to test with. It does have 2 shoulder buttons on the top each side. You just can't see it from that angle, but yeah, but you know, there is some amount of complexity because there are the joystick, and somebody out there might decide they do want to use a joystick instead of a D-pad in this game. That's their prerogative, but this kind of is a game built around the D-pad, not the joystick. And the joystick has analog sensitivity, so if the player wants to use the sticks, we're going to have to program in a dead zone. Now, fortunately, I don't think people are going to want a customizable dead zone, and if they do, too bad, I guess. But in general, this isn't a game that you're going to be controlling with the joysticks, I would hope, or the sticks, I would hope. It's a game that's built around using the D-pad for navigation because it's a 2D game, and all the menus should run perfectly fine. Yeah, joystick, I remember programming controls using the old joystick input stuff. It sucked and I hated it and I don't like it. And I'm not including options for mouse controls either. That's just not worth it. It's just not worth going through all that hassle. Now, the cool thing about the gamepad is that it has vibration! Woo! We can use rumble. I do believe I actually had some amount of rumble programmed, but, you know, we can program in some rumble stuff too. That'll be fun. Yep. So yeah, these are all the default controls we want to be able to have in our game, and then we want to be able to have customizable controls on top of that. Now, the real question is, how are we going to handle letting the player customize their controls? We have a few different ways of doing that. And keep in mind, I also want to have a way for the player to be able to do that at the beginning of the game as well. In a lot of games, like Super Smash Brothers, for example, you only customize the controls for the actual smashing itself. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really customize the controls for the menu. That would make a whole lot of sense. Because the language of gaming has kind of dictated that the A button selects and the B button deselects. So that's what the A button and the B button do in the menu. The way I have these controls set up is the A button is the A button, and the A button does whatever the A button is programmed to do, and you can set the A button to whatever button you want. So if you change the A button, it changes the A button for the entire game. Do I want to allow that to happen? Well, that depends, really, but I think it makes sense to do that because it unifies the controls across the whole game, because the game is very much menu control based. I mean, it's an RPG. The main menu, and then there's a battle menu. They're both menus. So, being able to customize the controls across the whole game is going to introduce a whole lot of snafu. I hope I'm sounding somewhat articulate here. I feel like I just said a whole bunch of nonsense. So, how do we create ourselves a controls menu? Well, fortunately, we already kind of know what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to kind of look like the My Music menu. So we can kind of copy all of this. Just plop it right in and just change all of these colors to green. Because now we're in the options menu. We're not in the extras menu anymore. Sonny Jim, my lad. So yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is that this way of changing controls is going to be much more like the Switch system controls. Yes. So, that is kind of the point I'm getting at. How are we going to let the player actually change the controls? We have two different options. They can set the controls individually. That is, they can pick the control they want to change just in its own little bubble and then change it. Here's the thing. We don't want the player to be able to set two buttons to do the same thing. We don't want them to be able to set A to be H and then also set B to be H. We don't want them to be able to do that. So we're going to need to come up with some kind of code that either deadlocks the player from being able to do that, just says, no, don't do that, or switches those buttons if they try to do that. This is where that array I just made will indeed come in handy. So, let's say the A button is set to N and the B button is set to H. I want to set the A button to H now. If I decide to do that, then it would set A to H, and then it would set B to N. That's what this solution would do. It would just swap the buttons. It would prevent them from being the same. Option 2 is what I believe a lot of old computer games used to do, is where it just wipes. Actually, no, this is something that a lot of emulators do, actually, now that I think about it. It just wipes all the controls, and you set them one by one by just hitting whatever key you want to be that control. So, you know, you just select, I want to change all the controls at once. You just hit that button, all the controls are wiped, and then it just asks you for all the buttons in a predefined sequence. So A, B, X, Y, L, R, select, start, up, down, left, right. I think that's also a good option, and I think we should absolutely include that option just because that makes it way easier to customize the controls as a whole if you have like a keyboard that doesn't match at all with the presets that I have, or if you have your own setup that you just want to do. So we're going to include that as an option for sure. Question is, do we include that as an option for the gamepad? Well, yeah, why not? Now, another thing is that the gamepad options I have here, they're kind of stuck to X input. I believe direct input uses device, but I'm not sure. Oh, nope, direct input also uses gamepad. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. X input uses slots 0 through 3, and then direct input uses slots 4 through 11. Which is really interesting. It's also interesting in that there's only 4 X input slots, but 8 direct input slots. Oh, and then the touchpad on the PS4, if you wanted to use touchpad tracking, that's device mouse. It is interesting. It actually may change per OS, because it says Windows is fully supported, but Mac, OS X, and Ubuntu do something differently. HTML5 does something differently. Android does something differently. It's all a great big, goodness gracious me oh my. Alright. So we've got the starting for our keyboard controls menu. We want to make sure it looks decent. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in here. Options menu! Yay! Now, I should comment these now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know why I don't comment things sometimes, but I do comment things other times. Whatever. That is extras, yeah? That is extras. Okay, I don't know why I'm doubting myself here. I mean, I guess the scripts themselves make it pretty obvious what's what, but you know, just in case, it's best to be as dummy-proof as possible. Oh my goodness, it's a Rakujo! How it go, Rakujo? And then we need to actually program it so it does that stuff. We do not need nifty transitions for these submenus, as you may have noticed when I was jumping into and out of my music. We just need them to pop up instantaneously. That does sound relaxing. I don't need case 1. That's right. I need case 2. 3.01. 0. I don't know why I didn't just copy paste all this shit, but whatever. Always gotta include these breaks with switch cases. Otherwise, shit will happen. Although, I have found a reason to not include breaks in switch cases. I don't know if I've actually programmed it yet or not, but I did find a reason to not always have a break there. Or at least have an if-else, where the else has the break in it. Or the if has a break in it that is skipped if the if doesn't. You know what I mean. Gotta check if that gamepad's pissed, yo. Gotta check if that gamepad's pissed. Is the screen crunch pretty bad? And then, of course, B button. Ah, fair enough. There we go. And hey, look at that. I'm just gonna let the menu music run so that I make sure it's actually looping properly. Oh yeah, I went with the melee sounds because for a while I was using the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate menu theme, which is still in here. I just decided to make it an unlockable. That's probably going to be a long ways off, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully I'll be able to get to a point where it's like... it'll basically just be programming enemy attacks. Okay, it sounds like the music's looping properly now. That's good. Earlier it was not, which was annoying. Yeah, basically the end goal is to, A, get this whole menu programmed. B, get Mario wholly programmed. Because, honestly, Mario doesn't have a whole lot of stuff that he can do. Let's just be fair here. And then get the various modes fully programmed after having programmed a small handful of enemies at the very least. And then from that point, it would basically just be adding more enemies to the game. Because all you really need to do at that point is add an enemy, give it properties, like how high Mario needs to jump in order to jump on top of it. Whether it's spiked, or whether it's flying, so that certain attacks affect it in certain ways, or if it has like an element like fire or ice, so that ice or fire flowers do more damage, or if it's can be flipped by a POW block, or, you know, that sort of thing. And then give it attacks where basically at a certain point it just hurts Mario, which is just a default animation that Mario does, depending on whether or not he blocked. It's basically kind of it at that point. And then it's just coming up with a bunch of enemies and, you know, having to, like, port in their sprites and all that stuff. But, yeah. And then also I'm going to have to come up with, like, boss fights that are fun and interesting on top of that. Oh, and then also a tattle log for each enemy. But again, that's not really something that that's not really something that's going to take too long once I actually have that sort of thing programmed in. But yeah, it's all just getting to that point where all I need to do is add enemies, because then all I gotta do is add enemies, and that's it. But that's definitely the hardest point to reach. So anyway, that key controls menu looks nice, but I don't want it to look exactly the same as the My Music menu. I'm sorry, I'm jumping back into the thing. I totally wasn't thinking. I'm doing something alright. So the reason the My Menu, or the My Music menu looks the way it does, is so it can fit this specific layout. You know, I don't know why I keep actually gesticulating at the screen with my real-life hand like people can see what I'm doing. Oh, I have this mouse that I could use. So I got this area here for all the different music. I got this area right here for whichever mode you have selected. And then I have this area right here to display the info of the music. Which is, you know, the original game it came from and who originally published it. Because I, for some reason, find the original publisher necessary information. But yeah, that's why the My Music menu looks the way it does. And it works for the My Music menu. I don't think that format's going to work quite so well for the controls. So, I think what I want to do here is have, you know, here's what I want to do. I want to have something, I want to have, like, the list of defaults in this area here, and then a couple and then, like, an option for customization towards the bottom. And then I want to stretch this box up and have this box display the controls. And just like button A's, whatever, button B's, whatever, button, you know. And just have this box be the list of controls. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So that's what we're going to go with right now, is that. So the question is, how high should I stretch this box up? I think just stretching it all the way up to, yeah, well, basically up here should work. Maybe a little bit below that line. I don't know. Oh, yeah, the out-of-bounds grid writing. That's actually happening in the My Music menu. I thought I actually caught this with the code that I wrote, but it keeps happening. But at the same time, nothing's breaking. And the grid is destroyed when we leave the room anyway. So I'm not worrying about it right now. Because everything's still working the way it's supposed to. It is weird, though. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad it works. I do think it's a little weird, but I'm not going to complain. Okay, so here we go. We want to make that square on the right bigger. How are we going to do that? Well, let's go ahead and have a look at what we did for our code here. 60. I think I want to set this to 77. And then set this to 85. It is weird. Sometimes it do be like that, though. Then we got that ticker tape there just in case. Gonna pull open the My Music menu again. Okay. This is where we're drawing the background and all. This is where we're drawing all the text. Oh. Ah. And drawing the cursor. Just all that kind of stuff. Okay. Green text. Draw. Oop, don't capitalize. Draw text transformed. to keyboard controls. Oh, so that's just going to draw the title of the submenu. Now that I'm thinking about it as well, we are going to have to create a new variable. Question is, where do I want to create this new variable? I might as well create it in here. It needs to be initialized. Wait a second. Do I want to create a... Do I want to make it as a global? Because I don't necessarily know if I want to. The variable I'm creating is basically, you know how in the options menu underneath the keyboard controls it actually displays what default you have? Yeah, like this. I want to create a variable that makes it so it actually displays properly instead of just always displaying QWERTY all the time. Well, I don't know why I'm fussing so much about it. I can just put it in Object Soundtrack, because Object Soundtrack is always here. Object Soundtrack's always here. Yeah, Object Soundtrack's always here. The only reason I have the buttons themselves global is just because it's useful, to have these be global. So I'm just gonna have control default set to 0 and gamepad display also set to 0. Here we go. So control default is what I'm going to be using for keypad or keyboard controls. Gamepad display is what I'm going to be using for gamepad controls. And the reason gamepad display is named the way it is because it's also going to be determining what buttons are used for the HUD. If I'm going to be using Nintendo style buttons, Xbox style buttons, or PlayStation style buttons. And I'm sure somebody out there is thinking, don't Nintendo and Xbox use the same letters for their buttons, A, B, X, and Y? Yes, but they have different colors. If you look at a Super Famicom controller, the A button is red, the B button is yellow, I actually have to reach over and grab my Super Famicom controller. X button is blue, and the Y button is green. And dang it, consistency matters to me. Or, you know, if you have the North American Super Nintendo controller, you got the purple and lavender, which is nice. But yeah, that's why I'm using Gamepad Display, because it's actually going to have a couple different settings. There's going to be 0, 1, and 2 for the 3 different controller styles. And then there's going to be 3, 4, and 5, which will be the same thing, but with customized controls. So you wouldn't be using the default controls for, say, an Xbox controller. You'd be using custom controls for an Xbox controller, but you still want to have the HUD display Xbox buttons. Yep. The A and B buttons are swapped and the X and Y buttons are swapped. It's a lot of fun. Lot of fun there. Yeah. Alright, so here we go. Switch. Object. Soundtrack. Dot. Control default. Case 0. QWERTY. Not QWERTY. QWERTY. Not that there's anything wrong with QWERTY. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I just had a random idea for a, like, if there was a game jam for the LGBTQ community that was called QWERTY Game Jam, that would amuse me greatly. Whoop. Oh yeah, Legacy Goku, baby! I swear to God, Super Saiyan Vegeta's theme is just one of the greatest fucking things ever put to audio. Just ever. Just ever. There we go! Got that fixed up. Might as well get this fixed up. Xbox. It's because Xbox is the default. Let's all be real with ourselves. Most people playing on a PC with a controller are going to be using an Xbox controller.
God, frickin' defaults.
Oh. Well, actually, speaking of default, because there are multiple cases where it would just be custom, we could just set that to the default. Bada bing, bada boom, boom, boom. Default is very handy in that way. Alright, let's see what we got going on here so far. I don't know why I always feel the need to close all the windows every time I start a new significant playtest, but I just do. I'm dumb, I know. Whoops. Try that again, sorry. Here we go. Oh, it looks so wrong! Ew! It's just so weird in that text. Whoops! That doesn't quite fit. That's okay, we can fix that though. That's easy enough to fix. Looks like I just gotta move it over like what? 20 pixels? 20 pixels. Here it is. Da 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 da. 120. $580. That's not going to change it in real time. I don't know why I thought it would, but... Either way, so far it looks okay. Now we want to have all the bits. Bits. Okay. What did we do over here again? That's right. Okay. So we have a variable, sub choice, which is used for moving the cursor in the sub menus. But I don't know if that's what I want to use right. I don't know if that's what I want to use in this menu. At least for now. So right now we're just gonna set the draw color to white. Should just leave this open because I keep going back to it. Alright. So we want to be able to draw all the options on the side of the screen. Have them all look nice. Oh, snap. I also need to set the alignments. Whoa, that would be important. Never forget to do that. Do they? Oh, I genuinely did not know that. It's interesting because it used to be the other way around. I think color with the U used to not actually be a function, which is interesting because Game Maker was made in Britain. But now it is, and I guess now it's their default. That's interesting. Maybe I'm thinking incorrectly. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. Alright. Now what we want to do is we want to kind of get this going so that they all are a nice distance apart. Not too close. Not too far. Just right. I'm gonna go with 40 pixels for now. And if you're wondering why Azerty is breaking up QWERTY and QWERTZ, it's just for aesthetics. I think having QWERTY and QWERTZ right next to each other is a little more confusing than having QWERTY and Azerty. We're going to start with having these 40 pixels apart. We're not going to go too deep in. We're just going to do 3 options so far, see how that looks. And then see if we want to continue with that specific distance or if we want to do something else. That's honestly not too bad. Why is that changing back to white? As far as I know, that should not be happening. What's causing that? Oh! Saw nothing. Alright, so how do we want to do this? This box over here is going to display all the button commands. This area over here is going to display all the defaults, with sort of a cursor highlighting them. I could probably stand to make that text bigger. I don't think it needs to be that small. It was that small in My Music menu because that's the way that My Music menu was built. I don't think it needs to be that small here. Now, as for what's going to be over here, I think we should also start building some stuff over here so we can get an idea of what it's going to look like over here, because we got 12 buttons. We got 12 buttons. We got to know how much space 12 of this takes up. This size would actually probably be perfect for the buttons. So, let's keep this size going for now. But know that from 130 to 10. So I want that to be 25. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Not too much more, but just a little bit more. Let's just add 8 to that. That should do it. That plus 40. Let's see, 85, 20. Let's go with 5 for now. 145, 185. Let's see what this looks like, everybody. That actually turned out pretty good. They're a little bit low, but that's easy enough to fix. I'm gonna leave that running in the background for a while just because this music's so good. Actually, let's see. You know, honestly, 10 pixels up probably would be just about perfect. Like I said, we got 12 buttons, so 12 buttons. I hope by labeling them D-pad up, D-pad down, and whatnot, that will discourage people from wanting to use the control sticks. But I know there's some people out there who like to use the sticks for games where the sticks are not the best option, and they're weird. You know what? Just gotta deal with it. Just gotta swallow your pride and deal with it. Alright. Well, you're wrong! Deep hard, right. Yeah. I'm good at typing, obviously. It does indeed look pretty dang good. As a matter of fact, words. As a matter of fact, I could probably move everything down about... I don't know why I keep eyeballing this. I'm just gonna open it up in... I'm just gonna print screen and open it up in paint.net. Shrink it by about 71 pixels. Move everything down by about 71 pixels, I think, is what I can do. And have it look good. So, 148. 156. Huh. Welcome to my galaxy brain solution. Because I don't feel like doing the math. I'm pretty decent at eyeballing it. It's just, that was quite a gap to eyeball. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Perfect. Missing the music from Superstar Saga. Oh gosh, darn. I wish I could help you there. Somehow, while making this game, I only thought to include music from the Paper Mario games. I totally forgot about the Mario and Luigi games somehow, even though they are RPGs that I also love to play. Hmm. Oh well, I guess there is nothing that can be done. There we go, that's better. Yeah. Um, multiple fonts for multiple sizes can be useful if it's only a few different sizes. But yeah, if for like a font that I use like this a lot, it's better to have like one big size that you can just shrink. It definitely works better going one direction than the other direction, though. I will say that. Let's see. So since I've got QWERTY, Azerty, Quirts, Colomac, Dvorak, and Custom, yeah, that'll work. And you know what? I can include, let's see. The ticker tape is meant for like control explanation. I don't think I need the ticker tape on this menu, maybe, but I should put another bubble like this maybe down here to describe the different... You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean. Y'all know what I'm saying. So what we're gonna do here is... Actually, I can just... And I'm not really too terribly worried about like these menus like being quote unquote off center or anything like that. Just because already the visual style is sort of patchworky, so I think it's fine. Um, it's not like I'm gonna go overboard with it, but it's for what it is, for what it's supposed to look like. It's fine. Let's see. There's another example of me bravely eyeballing things. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, since all of those texts looked fine, I'll just finish making them. Like I'm adding 60 to each, so 331, 391, 451. This from scratch option would be what creates the sequence where it's like hit what you want to be the A button, hit what you want to be the B button. You know what I mean? Okay, 700 is probably about where I want that to be then, yeah. Yeah! Let's see. I don't want this to be too big a box. So let's just say 180. Wait a minute, I've become more confused. Okay, that's not where that's supposed to be. Derp! Okay, that is actually pretty close to the bottom. Oh wait, I said I don't need this. Got a feeling this is gonna look slightly terrifyingly too close, but we're gonna go with it anyway, 'cause we're cool like that. We're gonna be using the text box font for that box anyway, so it's all good. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, so I just did a bad on math at some point somewhere. Oh, yeah, I did way bad on math. Okay. That would explain it. So, let's just subtract 60 from that. Oops. There we go. I could probably move all of these bits of text up a little bit, but right now, that's definitely shaping up. Definitely shaping up. That's good. So obviously we also need to have, you know, different keys over here. But yeah, right now this is coming along rather nicely. And I think that's actually where I'm going to call it for tonight, because it's getting a little late. I have work in the morning tomorrow. But so far, this has been pretty decent progress, at the very least. We've got the basic graphical design of the menu prepared. We've just got to get the actual menu part of the menu up and running, so where you can actually pick the default you want, and it will actually display, you know, the setup for all the buttons and all that. Yeah. Good progress so far. Good progress. So, on the next exciting dev stream, we'll probably wrap up this customizable menu. And probably also the customizable controls for the gamepad at the same time. I promise eventually we're gonna get to streaming Mario doing things. Actually, maybe that'll be the next stream, because that's probably gonna be a little I tend to jump around when I'm developing things sometimes. Like, I'll work on one thing and then I'll be like, okay, I'm tired of working on this, I'll work on another thing. Maybe next time I'll work on Mario stuff. Maybe I won't. Who knows? We'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's the future, and I can't see the future.
I'm not Shulk.
Good night, everybody.